Well, I don't. I think Eric, you do a fantastic job as Google's Minister of Propaganda.
You said you were going to be nice.
Well, he does a fantastic job.
I think I'll just take the compliment.
I think that, and I agree with you that technology is critical. It is the only way that things get better in the developed world. And I think we should distinguish the developed and emerging markets very sharply. In places like China, India, Africa, Latin America, there's zero need for innovation. All they need to do is copy things that work. But the part of the world where technology is really necessary for things to get better is the developed world. US, Western Europe, Japan. And the part that I would challenge you a little bit on is just how healthy the state of technology generally is. There are obviously individual companies that do quite well, especially if they have world-class monopolies like Google has in search.
Legal monopolies.
They're legal as long as they don't try to tie in and oppress other companies by extending the monopoly power unfairly. But it's quite legal to have a monopoly as long as you don't abuse it. But I think that
I'll take that one too.
He's well aware. I think that when you look at this question of how much technological progress has been happening, we get into all these complicated measurement issues. The one that I cite as the big data point is that if you look at the U.S., say in the last 40 years, 1973 to today, median wages have been stagnant. Maybe the mean wages have gone up maybe a small amount, not very much. The 40 years before that, 1932 to 1972, they went up by a factor of 6. So people, if you looked at how people lived from 32 to 72, you had a 6-fold improvement. And it was matched by incredible technological progress. Cars got better. You had the aeronautics industry got started. You went from no planes to supersonic jets. You had the computers were invented. You had all sorts of incredibly important dimensions in which progress took place. And so I agree we've had certain narrow areas where there's been significant progress, but it's very odd that it hasn't translated into economic well-being. This is not just a problem with capitalist countries like the U.S. You may say the U.S. is too capitalist for your liking, Eric, but it's also true of socialist countries like France.
Do I need to be making a list or keeping track?
It's true of all sorts of other countries like Japan, where things have been surprisingly stagnant. There's this weird question of what's going on. You have Moore's law on the one hand. On the other hand, if I had to sort of simplify, we've had incremental but relentless progress on the computer side. And on the other hand, we've had basically no progress on energy. And if you think about where oil prices were in 1973, it was $2 or so a barrel. It is now at north of $100 a barrel. And so you've had sort of a catastrophic failure of energy innovation. And it's basically been offset by computer innovation. I think that's sort of a simplified account of what's happened in the last 40 years.
So before I give Eric an opportunity to jump in, I want to prompt you in one way, Peter, which is why? Why do you think this is?
Well, the why questions always get immediately ideological. So I'm libertarian. I think it's because the government's outlawed technology. We're not allowed to develop new drugs with the FDA charging $1.3 billion per new drug. You're not allowed to fly supersonic jets because they're too noisy. You're not allowed to build nuclear power plants or say nothing of fusion or thorium or any of these other new technologies that might really work. So I think we basically outlawed everything having to do with the world of stuff, and the only thing you're allowed to do is in the world of bits. And that's why we've had a lot of progress in computers and finance. Those were the two areas where there was enormous innovation in the last 40 years. It looks like finance is in the process of getting outlawed. So the only thing left at this point will be computers. And if you're a computer, that's good. And that's the perspective Google takes because it thinks of the world.
You're not accusing him of being a computer, are you?
Well, they like computers more than people in many cases. That's why there's a networking revolution. But if you look at it from the perspective 40 years in the future, Moore's law is good if you're a computer. But the question is, how good is it for human beings? So Eric, how does this translate into economic progress for humans?